Well, the time is just gone 9 minutes past 8 as we kick off this morning on News and Views. If you have just tuned in, I am Inayat Wadi. We welcome you to the show, our listeners, our viewers on the various platforms of Salam Media this morning. And a large part of the show this morning is going to be focused on what is due to take place on Monday, the EFF March. Now, there are a number of issues, and in the build up to the march, we've seen so much being said, so much being written, but the key issue here is looking at the EFF, looking at their motivation for the march, and a priority is to see the back of the President Cyril Ramaphosa, amongst many other issues, and these are issues that all of us are concerned about. We are talking about an end to load shedding, which affects each and every one of us, and the many other issues that impact us on as a nation, as a country, the state of joblessness, the state of the economy, the state of poverty, food insecurity. These are issues that are of concern to the entire country. The question is it because the EFF is holding the march that we find the type of reaction, or is it not the case? And this is the reason why we are talking with political analyst this morning, Kim Heller, who has been with the EFF, who knows the inside workings within the EFF, and to unpack what her thoughts are, we're going across now to be joined by Kim Heller. Kim, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. And once again, it's lovely to speak to you. Thank you for the
Yes,
invitation.
Kim, there are so many questions that are being raised with regards to this planned march that is taking place on Monday. And uppermost is what the EFF is calling for is the resignation of Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, questions are being raised that is it about one man? Is it about the president himself? And seeing the back of President Cyril Ramaphosa, will this truly solve the country's problems?
Yes, I mean, as always, you ask difficult questions, but I think it sounds like it's about one man, and people could see this as political campaigning ahead of the upcoming election next year. But I think there's a legitimate call for the president to go. His own party, for instance, seems to find him not guilty and don't demand accountability from him. Even in the Parla matter, we had MPs voting to not prosecute him and go ahead with a very comprehensive panel report done by two senior judges. So we, as South Africans, and we as political parties and political, just as ordinary citizens, where do we look for accountability when the president is blatantly involved in government activities he shouldn't be in, or a violation of government codes of ethics? And where, on the other hand, he's destroying the economy. In fact, I wrote a piece yesterday which said that actually it's Cyril Ramaphosa who shut down the nation, and we should be more worried about that than what we're going to be seeing on Monday.
Yes, Kim. In fact, there are many that are now starting to see through the president and see who President Cyril Ramaphosa really is. And you've tweeted on that, and you've spoken about, holding him accountable. He has violated his oath of office, but also at the same time looking at his presidency and what he has achieved or what he hasn't achieved. And there are many that hold the view that the country has been worse off under President Cyril Ramaphosa, even compared to former President Jacob Zuma.
Yes, I mean, he's just done an appalling job. And in my piece, as I have done before, I've said, ironically, this is a man that we thought would be able to look after business, to bring investment, and to, just solidify any economic gains that were made. But he's collapsed it all. The promised investment hasn't come in. He's handled the situation terribly badly. Since 1995, 2005, he's been speaking about electricity. So I think people are absolutely hurtful is the word I don't usually use, the Afrikaans word, but that's how they're feeling. But I don't think it's just about Ramaphosa. I think it's about an ANC government that is showing absolute disrespect for its own citizens and have no willingness to actually resolve the problem. So I think the EFF march is legitimate. I think it's not even an EFF march, it's a march initiated by the EFF, a political organization who's managed to get a whole host of other organizations to be part of the march, which I think is excellent, because I think we need to have a unification of ordinary citizens, of marginalized citizens all together, because that's the start of a group that will force the government to take itself seriously, because the government in its own right is not taking itself seriously, and it's not taking citizens seriously. So we see on Monday a march led by EFF, but with very legitimate bodies coming through, like SAFTU, who have a large command over the working class. We have APC under Temba Gordhi, a very ethical politician. We have the PAC coming in. So I think for the first time, what I'm seeing under the democratic order is a unification of progressive Black organizations, and I think that's very positive.
Kim, you will appreciate the fact that looking at our recent history, our recent past, even going back to the July 21 unrest, that there are concerns. There are concerns about safety. There are concerns about security. There are concerns about damage to property, to life. And we're looking at it both ways. You know, on the one hand, we know that sometimes these protests can turn very ugly. They can turn violent. And at the same time, one doesn't want to see another Marikana situation developing or evolving. And we've seen even President Ramaphosa making a statement saying that disorder and anarchy will not be allowed. But you know the inner workings of the EFF, and I think you also tweeted to that effect with regard to protest action and marches that have been held by the EFF in the past. And you beg to differ that it's not going to be about lawlessness. It's not going to be about anarchy and disorderly conduct.
Yes, I mean, I certainly hope not. But what worries me more is that the government has militarized this whole exercise. They've got the SANDF on the streets, and I think that is more problematic. They've got police on force, and I wonder if the agitation will come from that side rather than EFF. So I think it is an explosive, volatile situation. And I'm disappointed that we have a democratic government who's increasingly using the defense force to try and lull the concerns of citizens. That to me is a sign of an illegitimate state, that the only way they can control citizens is through force. So I believe if there's violence, it's probably going to come from incitement by the security forces, not from EFF. And seeing that you do refer to my knowledge of the EFF, I was involved in the party, as you and some of your listeners may know, in 2014. And I went on very many marches. They were all very peaceful. And I think when we marched to the FABC, I think there were 30 to 40,000 people. We were in the streets. Not one vehicle was damaged. It was orderly. When somebody got out of line, there was one individual, Julius Malema, actually brought him into order immediately. The leadership is very disciplined. I've been at huge rallies, and I've never seen one incident of that. I've seen the high discipline. And I've been there, so I'm speaking as an eyewitness. And whether I've been in a journalistic capacity or as part of the organization, I've always been impressed at the level of high discipline. So let's hope we see that. We certainly want a peaceful march. I see former President Thabo Mbeki has spoken last night about the right for EFF to protest and march peacefully. And let's hope it's that. But enough is enough. And I think that's what the South African people are feeling. And I think that's what EFF is leading. And I think it's a good cause. I think what I also wrote in my articles, we fail to look at the violence of the system, which is people are losing jobs under load shedding. I gave a personal example of how I was asked to help 3 orphans whose parents had been burned to death. They were lighting a candle under load shedding. And the 3 young children, all under the age of 5, with the most horrendous burns, they are psychologically scarred for life. And this was part of the collateral damage of load shedding, when people aren't managing to, they're using feeble candles and paraffin to light up and warm up tiny little shacks. So, this is a legitimate march.
Well, Kim, let's just hope that, at the end of the day, it's going to end up as peaceful and we will not be in a state of anarchy. But also at the same time, as I mentioned, that there are legitimate concerns, there are legitimate grievances with regard to the ruling party, the ANC. And you and I have spoken about this in the past as well. And, it's not only about the EFF, it's not about the other parties, but it's also about the government. And again, I think the key issue here is you are saying that this government needs to be held accountable, and there is fundamentally something wrong or something seriously wrong with regard to the system within which the country is governed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't think this is about one president. I see that, some factions of the ANC are saying we must just get rid of Ramaphosa and everything will will be fine. And I disagree. I think, as you've eloquently put it, it's systemic. The problem lies with the ANC. They've become a government that cares very little about the people and have shown really shocking accountability. They need to be caretaking the nation, but they can't even caretake their own staff. We've seen they haven't paid. The level of lack of empathy towards ordinary citizens is just terrible. There's no understanding of the plight of an ordinary person and what they have to go through in an ordinary day to survive. And yet I see last week President Ramaphosa, in his easy campaigning that he does so easily and his easy promises, is saying he's certain of victory. And he once again reassured citizens in KwaZulu-Natal that everything's going to be fine. The problems of the ANC and South Africa are short-term crises. But he's been saying that for years now. So I think he expects South Africans to live on hope. But you can't eat hope. Hope doesn't feed your family. So I think in the ultimate assessment, the problem is lying with an ANC government that is very, very distant from their own people. And it's a great shame.
Well, Kim, we're going to have to leave it at that. As always, we do appreciate you taking time out and talking to us right here on Salam Media. We wish you all the best, and please take care.
Thank you. You too. Much appreciated. Bye-bye.
Kim Heller, a political analyst with us this morning, and we're going to still stay with the National Shutdown, and we will be talking with the Truck Drivers Forum because we know trucks have come under severe fire during the times of unrest, and it has happened in the past. So we will be talking with the All Truck Drivers Forum and the allied South African ATDF stance on the planned national shutdown for Monday.
Zakar has the power to end extreme poverty.